Hi, I'm Aaron, and welcome to the Slim, Fiddy, and Biggie Committee podcast, where me and my best friends, Danny and Matt, take a deep dive into hip hop, the genre that has formed an integral part of our lives. Please like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at _Slim, Fiddy, Biggie Committee, and stay tuned for any upcoming podcast news. Coming up on today's show, we have something a little bit different. Today, it's all about the Slim, Fiddy, and Biggie Committee. That's right, it's about us. All right, let's get into it. All right, well, the Slim, Fiddy, Biggie Committee podcast. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to talk about us, just our background, why we decided to do this podcast, a little bit about our friendship, what got us into hip hop, the whole thing, and see where we end up. So hopefully our audience and you listeners, you'll get something out of this and understand a little bit about us and what made us decide to, spend our time reviewing hip hop albums.
I'm excited. I'm keen. I think this is like something that we, maybe should have done sooner, because it's like our listeners, I've definitely got an insight into our friendship a little bit through, listening to our podcast, but this is like, explicit, like about our friendship. So I think if you haven't, been listening to our podcasts prior to this, like this is a really good place to start. This is a good entry level Slim, Fiddy, and Biggie Committee podcast to begin with.
Yeah, it's one that you can at least know us before you hear us review albums, and when we make fun of one another, you'll understand that we're joking and that we are good friends, and that you're not going to turn around and think that these guys are assholes, which you could think though. We definitely have those moments in our friendships, but yeah. So I think you're definitely right, Matt. This is definitely something that's been on the cards for a while, and something that'll hopefully share or shed a bit of light into us and what we like, and in terms of music as well, what we kind of like.
Absolutely. Danny's gone all
Yeah, Danny's gone coy. He doesn't like talking about himself.
I want to be a mystery. I want to be a mystery. I want to be an enigma. All right, you're ruining it.
Danny doesn't like everyone knowing he has friends.
I had to call his mum and get her to convince him to do this podcast. She said yes, so Here we are talking about himself.
Did you get the signed permission slip, Aaron?
Oh damn! I forgot to photocopy it.
Oh yes, I can get out of here. Woohoo!
Oh, shit.
Well, what we thought we might start off with is just a bit about our journey to hip hop. Obviously, all three of us have a bit of a different journey when it comes to listening to hip hop. So I might throw it out in terms of for Danny or Matt to take the first crack, the first storytelling time in terms of what got them into hip hop and what got them into the music that we talk about all the time now.
Oh, who wants to go first? Ooh.
Well, ladies first, Danny. You should probably take this one on.
Oh, you naughty boy. Geez, I just don't know where to begin though. I'm struggling. How far back do I go? I just can't remember. Like, it definitely started in primary school. It definitely started, it was probably grade 5, grade 6. And for some reason, and this like does not have anything, it does not relate to my tastes today, but like Nelly comes to my mind as one of the first experiences I had with hip hop. Like, what was that song with Kelly Rowland? What was that song?
I have absolutely no idea.
Matt, you know Dilemma. Yeah, like, oh, and that one, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So did that like get you into the R&B feel, just that vibe?
It didn't get me into it. It was just like, basically that's when I became aware maybe of this sound, this new kind of music. Like, I wasn't into music in primary school. I was it was something that happened on the radio during car rides. Like, I never pursued music.
Yeah.
Like, I heard these songs like Nelly. The other one that kids at school, I clearly remember, starting to sing along to and talk about was Eminem. Eminem, Without Me. I specifically remember this. In primary school, people knew the words to Without Me and they were singing along, and I felt like I was out of the loop. I felt like I was on the outside looking in with all my friends because they were all like enjoying this song and rapping to it all the time. And I was just like, what are they talking about? What is going on? What is this song? And
Yeah.
so, that's like my earliest memories of hip hop, basically. It was primary school, like age 10, 11, 12. Like that's when I started really becoming aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you're saying, like, age-wise, you were how old?
I'm guessing I was like 11 or 12 is when I became aware of this thing that was called hip hop. I didn't even know it was called hip hop. I just was aware of this new type of music that I,
Yeah.
had not listened to before.
Well, what type of music were you exposed to as a kid? So, like, when you say you became aware, what was the measuring stick?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure back in the day, I obviously had to listen to my parents' music, and
Mm.
whatever was in the car, like that's what we listened to. Like that's when we listened to music. Like we were not a musical home. It wasn't like, we were always had the radio on in the kitchen or whatever. It was just like the TV was on. It was not a music
Yeah.
home. So for us, it was car rides is when we got to listen to music. And I think the station that we were always listening to, so in Melbourne, was 101.1 double TFM back in the
That's
day.
interesting because I remember the station we listened to. It was 101.9, The Fox.
The Fox. Yeah, but
The Fox.
that's the thing. That was the modern kind of station, even back then, and it kind of is now. 101.1 was like the kind of throwback to like maybe like 10 years, 20 years previous to that time. So when I was listening to it in, 2000 or whatever, they were playing songs from the 90s and maybe even the 80s, like, that kind of music. So that's the kind of music I was listening to at that time. But I kind of want to. So when I actually started realizing that, there's a thing called hip hop and I really like it, was definitely high school. Definitely year 7, high school, which I think is common for most people, is when they start getting into music, is high school.
Yeah. Well, hip hop isn't really primary school friendly, let's be honest.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, I
Unless you're
remember
a
in
bad
year
boy.
7, like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so year 7, again, it was like friends around me who were like, "Oh, have you heard of Outcast?" That is what I remember. Have you listened to this Outcast song? So obviously went home, chucked on the old LimeWire, chucked on the old Kazaa,
Yeah.
and
Destroy your computer.
yeah, the
Yeah.
amount of times I had to turn in my computer for viruses, crazy. But
And like, remember with LimeWire, you just get so many like random versions of the song or like incomplete
yeah,
versions. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
it was
you
like hit
really
or
had
miss.
to. Yeah, you had to really navigate and find the exact song and test them before you download it.
Not as easy as Spotify these days.
Nah, yeah, yeah. Today it's so easy. But yeah. So Outcast was definitely one of the first, and from there it sprang into that. That's like when it became an actual thing that I pursued outside of school and outside of the car. Like I actually got on the internet, started searching, and I got really obsessed. Like I got super obsessed. I would sit in front of the computer screen some days after school, like have a song that I really like, get the lyrics up on the screen, and just memorize every single song that I knew, just from front to back, listen to it with the music on, put the music off, and then just read through the lyrics and go back and forth and back and forth. And I memorized so many songs that way. Like, I'd come to school and think I was so cool because I could just rap these songs, like these Outcast songs
Yeah.
that no one knew anyway. But I think I impressed a few people, so worth.
Made a few friends.
Well, you were telling me that like your friends were like the ones that were talking about hip hop, so I'm sure they were impressed.
yeah, and they got me like a couple extra friends probably. Like, the last thing I'll say is the biggest thing that ever happened to me in terms of music was in year 10. I'll never forget. Year 10 was like one of the best years ever. Because like I was in an accelerated learning program at school. So
Nerd.
yeah, I know. Embarrassing.
It was actually. Tell us the name of it. What was it called?
What do you mean? It was called an accelerated learning program.
Nah, there was a name for it.
Well, I don't know. Are you talking about like the SEALs or something?
Yeah,
Like
the SEALs.
Yeah, we were the SEALs, like select entry accelerated learning.
We could have a group, Danny and Aaron. Like, we could do like our own hip hop group, and it could be called the SEALs.
Yeah. Well, I have a trivia. We do trivia with my friends, and we call ourselves the Navy SEALs. It's so corny. Like, none of us are in the Navy. We just happen to be in a SEAL program. It's embarrassing.
So you're only friends with the SEALs.
Yeah, like we were on our own. Like, we didn't mingle with other people from our year level. We didn't really mingle because we were stuck together. They didn't let us change classes year after year. We were just together for 3 years in a row. And then year 10, instead of, starting to mingle, they shoved us up to the next year level. Like, that was the accelerated part of the program, is they just shoved us up to the next year level. So we got integrated into the year above us. And so I was this loner stuck in like maths and psychology classes with all these people I didn't know because they just chucked us in and started mingling with us.
This is for all our listeners. This is Danny's 8 Mile story right here. This is like the, on the mean streets of Melbourne.
On the mean streets of Brighton Secondary College. Yeah, so they shoved us in, and then just I don't know how it happened, but a couple of kids just like slowly, ushered me over like a few weeks or whatever, like took me in basically, because I was always like sitting on my own, just doing my work, and they were like, "Oh, come here!" Like, I thought they would like, trying to tease me or something, or I don't know, but they were actually really cool. And once I showed a tiny interest in hip hop, they were like, "Oh shit, this is our dude." And then every single class I had with those people, there was 2 of them, Alex and David. I'm not going to say their last names, but Alex and David were the 2. And every single class, math, psychology, accounting, whatever I had with them, it became hip hop class. None of it was maths or psychology or anything. It was all hip hop class. What they would do is we had diaries, and every single class they would write down in my diary different songs for me to check out. Like, I didn't know anyone. They were writing down Bone Thugs. That was a big one. Bone Thugs and Harmony. They were giving me Tupac. I didn't know anything about Tupac. They were giving me Biggie.
So you got some legit homework. Like, you got for some hip hop homework.
Yeah, and I loved it. That was the homework that I lapped it up. Like, I rushed home to literally jump on LimeWire. LimeWire was the shit back then. And just download all these songs that I'd never heard before that were in my diary, and just, it opened up my world. And it was just that period of my life, getting into hip hop for real, and just having all this info and gold hip hop songs dumped in my lap, was just one of the best things that ever happened to me. And that's what it all sparked from there. That's where it really, then I became obsessed, became what I am today.
I remember in high school, this wasn't me, but like a guy I was friends with. we had like I think it was like year 11 or something, and we were preparing. What were they called? Like SATs or something? Like or SACs or like
Yeah, Sacks.
Yeah,
school.
Yeah.
sacks.
Yeah, school assessed coursework, and we had a SAC one day, and he hadn't like prepared like his notes for the essay that we had to write
Rebel.
over like a period of 3 days. So he was diligent. I know it doesn't sound like it, but like he was like a switched on student. But like for whatever reason, he hadn't prepared his notes for that first day of preparing for the SAC, the essay response. So what he did was that whole first lesson, he he didn't have anything. He didn't have any ideas. So he literally wrote never the lyrics to "Never Enough," Eminem and 50 Cent on the page, and then on the next 2 days, so it looks like he did something. And then on the next 2 days, he like had to like rewrite out, or not rewrite, but like start from scratch and just try and finish the essay in those 2 days rather than three, and like then just like bin the lyrics to "Never Enough" because like he thought that if like I don't know he hadn't written anything, like the teacher would have been like I don't know what the fuck are you doing
Yeah, what are you
or
doing?
yeah like what's going on. So he's like, oh, I've got to
Yeah,
write
but
something.
that's
So
not weird at all to literally write lyrics of a song and a teacher will go, fair enough. I
imagine
like
if
that
she
that's
like
the idea. Like he didn't even think about potentially making up a story. His
yeah.
idea was, you know what, today's a write off. I'm gonna write down lyrics to a song.
It just reminded me of when Daddy was saying you could go home and like learn lyrics, and in his diary he'd like write out like songs and stuff. I was just like, oh, that reminded me of it reminded me of that story. And it's like, imagine if the teacher had have like actually on the first night, and like now that I'm in that profession as well, I understand they definitely wouldn't have. But like, imagine if they had have on the first night taken home the papers and just had a little like gaze through what the students have written, and like they got to his paper and like what is this?
Yeah, fuck you, you dirty cocksucker, like all this shit.
Yeah,
Oh, the lyrics, god damn. That's really
yeah,
funny.
yeah. It is. It's a good story, but anyway,
So
I
Matt,
digress.
what was your journey in hip hop?
Well, I would like to bet that I got into hip hop a long time before both of you guys. Yet,
Ooh,
as
Rebel.
yet as soon as I was in, I was hooked on two artists.
Oh yeah, exactly. And
And it
it hasn't changed since.
hasn't
It's
changed
changed
a single
slightly. It's changed.
slightly.
He's gone from 2 to 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, mine was definitely primary school, but like I don't like hip hop was always like around because I think for me it comes down to like older having older siblings who listen to it, like siblings who are like 10, 11 years older than me, like they were obviously listening to that type of music and like or were allowed to listen to that type of music, and like when I'd spend time with them it was just always on like or in the background, and they're like they were responsible. They'd try and like not put on songs where it was like heaps of expletives, but like kind of can't help it with hip hop. But yeah, I just remember having that genre of music as well as R&B, like a mixture of both of those two, always on, like in my ear, like very, just very natural, I suppose. So I think that sound is what, or one of the sounds that I associated with good music because like oh well, my older siblings listen to that so it must be good, so you know but then I'd also have like my parents listening to like that. They weren't listening to hip hop, they were like listening to like oh what was Danny mentioned his radio channel,
Didn't you
and you
say
mentioned
like the?
yours.
Don't you remember? Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you know a lot about the Bee Gees. Is that?
The Bee Gees was one, but like we had like it was like Smooth 91.5 is like the the radio channel that's like now for like older generations that plays like music from the 70s, 80s, 90s. That's or not even 90s, mainly like probably like 60s, 70s, 80s. So like
Yeah.
whatever channel it was back then, like I'd listen to that with like mum and dad, and then I'd spend time with my brother and sister and listen to like R&B and hip hop. So like my musical what I was exposed to in terms of different genres and like from different eras, like it was quite diverse, but you can't help it. I think like most children are like, oh, whatever my mum and dad are listening to is like, embarrassing, and then whatever like my older siblings, or if you had like an older friend at high school, whatever like they were listening to, you'd be like, oh, that's cool, and what my parents listened to was like not cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just remember being influenced by my siblings in terms of the music that they listened to, and then I remember. So that was throughout primary school, but I remember in like year 6 in particular, grade 6. So I guess it wasn't that much younger than like when Danny said, because he was like 11 or 12, so I would have been around the same age. But I remember going on year 6 camp, and it was a bus ride, a long bus ride to Canberra from Melbourne. So it was like 10 hours. Um, so we were all allowed to take like our Discman. Is it Discmans? Yeah, our Discmans on the bus. And like, for any of those like younger listeners that we have out there, Discmans are literally like portable CD
CD
playing
player.
device. Yeah, portable CD device that you could like, only ever have one CD in at a time, and then you'd have to like change it over. And I remember borrowing from, I think it was my brother, 50 Cent's first album, Get Rich or
Of
Die Trying,
course. Of
as
course.
well as the Eminem Show by Eminem, so Eminem's third album. So I remember borrowing those two albums for that bus ride and thinking I was like the coolest cat. Like I've got like two like explicit albums, and I'm in year 6, and like I don't even know why like the teachers didn't check what we were bringing, but like because it definitely wouldn't have been allowed if they had known. But like I remember sitting next to someone and be like, oh, what are you listening to? Like, because like that's what you do when you'd sit next to like your bus partner, you'd like talk and stuff, and then you'd like share headphones and stuff like well before Corona times.
Yeah.
So it's like when I'd like show them what I'd listen to, like immediately they're like, oh my god, like you're so cool, like
Yeah,
so
because you're
then
saying you're listening to bad words.
yeah
Uh,
yeah, so like
that is
it's
kind of
just
the
like
appeal, though. That is kind of
Yeah.
the appeal of hip hop, especially when you're young. Is like, oh, this is like, I shouldn't be listening to this, but I
Yeah, it's
am.
very
Like,
taboo. It's like it's
exactly.
it's naughty because like you'd never say fuck, but listening to people say it is
Yeah.
very different. You're like, oh, like you get that weird kind of rebel feel, even though we really weren't rebels at all.
No, the
yeah
opposite.
yeah yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I remember that being a vivid memory of mine, that bus ride and listening to Eminem and 50 Cent. And like for me, like I think it was because those were the two albums that I like remember, listening to, and I think they would have been the first two like hip hop albums that I properly listened to. Those two artists were like imprinted on my memory as like, okay, well, this is what hip hop is. This is like,
Yeah.
if I was to define hip hop, it's these two guys. So yeah, they've always been and will always be like in my
They're in a
Hall
list
of
of
special
Fame.
place.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah
But it's so
exactly.
strange because, like, why hasn't your, tastes changed from when you were like 11 and 12? Like,
Mm.
those two are still literally your favorite rappers to this
Mm.
day.
I think it has like an element of nostalgia to them, that like it helps me to like listening to them helps me relive like really good times in I guess my life. Imagine like can you imagine? I'll try and think of something that's like equivalent for you, like the first time you listen to Wu Tang or the first time you listen to Andre 3000 and we're just like, what is this? Like this is insane. Like
Yeah.
it's like just like a really pleasant memory you have. So it's like I still like there are artists that I'll new artists I'll listen to and be like, oh, this is amazing. Why I haven't listened to this sooner? Like Sci-Hi, for example. Like I was like, wow, this is like really really good. But like at that particular time in my life, everything was heightened because like as Aaron was saying, like it was a bit taboo. Like I was young, no one else was listening to it. Like it made me feel cool. Like my brother and sister were listening to it. Like they'd recommended me to listen to this. So it's like there were so many things going on that like probably made those two albums and those two artists like fly above any other artist that I've sort of come across. Like I don't know, they're also two quality artists. Like and those two particular albums are like
Yeah.
amazing albums. So it's like that also helps. But like I think that I definitely sometimes think when like compared to you two guys, it's like you obviously have a much like more like well-rounded palette when it comes to like hip hop artists. So sometimes I do definitely feel like I miss out a little bit, or like I'll like discover someone that you guys have already listened to, and I'll be like, oh guys, these guys are crazy, and then like you'll both be like, yeah, like we've literally been listening to them for like
Yeah,
20 years.
yeah. I
But
guess like the strange thing for me is like you started with Eminem and 50 Cent, and then and that was like
Stopped.
primary school, and then all through high school, it sounds like you literally just only listened to 50 Cent and Eminem and just all their albums.
Yeah, they
well,
have a
actually,
big catalog though.
They have a big catalog, but like to in my mind, I picture Matt just only ever listening to 50 Cent and Eminem and nothing else from like year 6 to year 12.
no,
What
okay,
about
all
Lil
right. So
Wayne, Matt? Did you get into Lil Wayne? I distinctly feel like you liked Lil Wayne for a bit.
well, not like exactly, but like I didn't really explain what happened in high school. So then after primary school, like I did, get into the, the illegal downloading, the LimeWire. I think every single person did, and like it was a bad thing because like I realize now that it wasn't supporting the artist, but like at the time you didn't really think about that. You were just like, oh, I just want to listen to like free music, and like that's obviously why Spotify and like Apple Music have become so successful now because it's like a legal way of like supporting the artist, and you don't bloody give your computer.
Viruses.
Yeah, exactly. But in from year 7 to 12, I remember like obviously still really loving Eminem and 50 Cent. Like I remember in year 12, or I think it was year 12, Eminem when he dropped Recovery, and it's like I remember I was really like super excited about that. I sort of skipped over the Relapse like album, and it wasn't until like I think Danny mentioned how much he loved it. Like I really paid attention to it and was like, wow, this is actually really good. But like in your high school, I remember going home and like how Danny you were saying you would like learn lyrics and stuff and memorize them. I remember like I going home and watching music videos on YouTube of like lots of different rappers. So like Lil Wayne was one of them, and like the Game was another one. Like I remember watching, Dr. Dre, like literally just whatever new music videos had come out, I would watch them and be like, and that was how I would access different artists. And I actually really enjoyed that because like I could actually see the artist, I could like see, what they were doing in the music video, and it's like I liked that sort of um, extra medium that I got. So it wasn't just audio; it was like video as well
Mm.
now. And then from there, I remember like getting into different phases. So then, like probably the next phase was Tupac. So like I remember watching a lot of like documentaries about Tupac and movies with Tupac in it, and like listening to a lot of his music, like the greatest hits and stuff. And yeah, I think the internet, like once, like I remember having like dial up at home, and like it was really, really like shitty connection, and like wasn't great speed. So like maybe that also stopped me from downloading a lot of music, and like I wasn't going to go out and buy an album because I don't know. I don't actually remember. This is sad. I don't actually remember like sitting down with like my Discman and like listening to new albums at that time. I literally just prefer to watch the music videos on the internet and like listen to music that way. Or like if I was around at a friend's place, then maybe like we'd have some music on, like, and I'd like show them my songs. But not a lot of my friends at the time listened to hip hop. Like not a lot of them liked hip hop. So it's like that's
Yeah.
why I think when I came across like you guys, it was a bit of a niche. Like hip hop's like not so much now, but back then it was very niche. Like not
Mm.
many people listened to it, and like you almost felt judged by for saying that you listened to hip hop. Like
Yeah.
so, yeah. So I think I expanded my horizons in high school, but then I sort of yeah, not as much as I could have until you guys came along, and then I started listening to more music, and then to be honest with you, this part of our friendship, like doing the podcast, in terms of opening up my eyes to new music, has been the best thing for my like for hip hop and me because now I've listened to like so many more albums that I would never have listened to if it wasn't for like you guys picking them and like us like needing to review them.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the podcast and our friendship, like similar to you, Matt. So I feel like I'm a blend of, Danny and Matt, in terms of my story and when it comes to hip hop. So like, my family wasn't that musical either. We were more like sport. I grew up with two younger brothers. We were just like sporty, and TV. We played outside all the time, but we didn't really have that much music in the house, and we just listened to the radio. And so music didn't really like mean much when I was growing up. Like, I was never really that instrumental. Like, I didn't pick up any instruments or anything like that. I just was never drawn to it.
Mm.
And how kids love the drums and shit like that and guitar, and I just never really cared that much. Like, movies like The School of Rock, like kids just loved that and just wanted to go, and that just never really appealed to me that much. But I remember, because like I grew up with two Russian parents, and much like you, Danny, and like obviously they didn't introduce us to hip hop, so we had to figure it out elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I remember that one of our family friends, his dad had gone to to America for work, and he came back and he was like telling people about the trip, and he's like he bought 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying, and he was like, check this out, this is really big, and he'd just come out in the US, and he brought it back as like a joke. And they put it on as like a joke. Like,
Yeah.
can you believe this shit? And
Good joke. Yeah, good joke.
good joke. Literally, good joke. But like, it's good joke because they were just like, oh, what the hell are they talking about? What is this? It's just, garbage.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. Like, I was listening to it and I was like, I've never heard music like this. And I didn't get the lyrics. Like, I wasn't at that point where I understood how to listen to lyrics. But the sound of the beats just got me from the very beginning, and I was just hooked. Like, and that's when I started. Like, I would fall asleep to Get Rich or Die Trying. Like, I would just listen to it over and over again. And the thing is, like, everyone's have heard of Eminem, so like I knew about Eminem, but like nothing ingrained into my mind like that album. And then there was the Massacre, and throughout primary school, like I was the only one who was aware of. I didn't even know it was called hip hop. I just was like, it's rap. I listened to rap.
Yeah.
And like, I'm very cool because I listen to rap. So I just listened to it, and no one in primary school was listening to it. Obviously, for reasons we've already discussed, it's not exactly, child appropriate. But my parents didn't really know either. They didn't know how much I was listening to it because, like you guys said, like download LimeWire, and like you just download, you just listen to that, and like I wouldn't exactly talk about it with my parents, but they just knew I was listening to this dude 50 Cent. But I don't think it really clicked at any point. And then after that, like in high school, like by that time I'd been listening to those albums and the Massacre for so long that like I was really into it. Like I just liked it, but I hadn't explored my other tastes. But even in high school, I didn't really find people that were into hip hop.
Yeah.
Like my whole friendship group throughout high school, even still, they're not into hip hop at all. Like I've tried to listen to their music, and it's like when they try to listen to hip hop, I just think it's garbage. Like just the sound is different. I just don't understand it. And like I can appreciate it, but there's just something with my school friends that was never able to like really show them how much like I loved it.
It's sad, isn't it? Because it's like you almost feel that you're going to be judged for your music, where it's like your friends are probably like, their music's like more, I don't know, would you say like socially like accepted?
Yeah.
So it's like you can't ever show them that side of you. And that's why music is like, it's quite special actually, because it's like movies to a certain extent are similar, but it's still not the same. Like music is just like one of those things that like, so
yeah, it's weird because, no one, like if anyone says I'm into horror, I'm into thriller, I'm into drama, I'm into comedy, whatever it is, everyone's like, okay, I can understand that. But at school, I was like, I'm into hip hop, and they were like, I don't get it. Like and they didn't want to get it. And so like I didn't talk about hip hop, and like whenever they were like, oh, Aaron, what do you want to listen to? I'm like, what I want to listen to. Like don't pretend Like, that I'm going to say hip hop. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a surprise. Like, when everyone's like, oh, what, like, if you had to choose, like, I only had that. That's the only thing I cared about. So, and my parents thought it was a phase. Like, my parents were like, oh, Aaron, when you get older, you're going to get over it, talking about this swearing and
Yeah.
bitch this, fuck that. You're gonna get over it. You're gonna grow up and realize that it's not, it's not for adults. And look at us now, adults. And now, instead of just listening to it, we talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's actually a
yeah,
good point. Like I think that, like to a certain extent, I still worry. I'm like, I wonder when I'm like, 60, if I will still like be like, oh, I want to listen to this, or like, I don't know, like I hope I still will, but like it's something that
Yeah.
definitely
I
plays on my
used to
mind.
actually, fear that. I used to fear growing up and growing out of hip hop like that,
yeah,
because like you were saying, Aaron, my parents were exactly the same. They're like, you get like this is not real music. You're gonna grow out of it, and you're gonna start appreciating the other stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, well if that's what's gonna happen, that's what's gonna happen. Like I just accepted that eventually that was gonna happen. But like I loved hip hop so much, I was like, I hope it doesn't happen, and I don't think it ever
Mm.
will.
no.
I think this is it. I think I'm hip hop for life.
I think the one thing is though, my fear now. So I agree. My fear was that I'd get to a point where I'm like I'm over it. But my fear now is that it'll get to a point where I'm not interested in new hip hop, and I'm only
Yeah.
going to listen to albums that I know. And part of me is scared about that because I know now that there is a particular joy about finding an album that you love.
Mhm. Yeah.
No, but like, there's always going to be like hip hop's going to, there's always going to be new music coming out, and it's like there always will be good albums and like good music being released. It's just like it's almost that nostalgia of those older albums that you might prefer because it's like, well, that was like a special. I found them at a special time in my life, like when my like relationship with hip hop was like really fresh.
Yeah. Well, like as Danny says, hip hop is a young man's game or a young person's game. So when I get old, I hope that I'm still actively looking for new music and still actively, wanting more and more and just to have a massive catalog. But like, you know, I was always the guy at school who loved hip hop, and like I didn't even like looking back, I didn't know anything about it. I was just the guy who liked the music. I didn't know any of the
Mm.
history. I didn't know anything about like the importance and the effect of it on people, and all the beefs and all the interesting into character stories and all that kind of stuff. I didn't really get into and understand that until later in high school and until Danny and I became friends.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously Matt, you and I became friends after you became friends with Danny after high school. So um, yeah, it's just interesting that like as much as our stories are different, we felt very similar ways throughout like our journey in hip hop.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Mm.
it sounds from these stories that we're very like similar. Our hip hop stories are very similar. How we got into it. The one thing that I would say is that kind of interesting to mention is like you kind of touched on it, but like for me and you, Aaron, I feel hip hop is like that's it. Like for me, you said it, but I'm the same. Like it's basically hip hop is everything, and anything else is not even music. I can't even enjoy it. There are definitely exceptions. There are
Yeah,
definitely big exceptions. Like I'm not saying I hate anything that is in hip hop, but as a general rule, if it's not hip hop, I'm not actually interested at all. Like I'm
yeah,
not going to pursue it at all. Whereas with Matt, I feel like he's the one who has the broader, broader
yeah,
tastes. He likes a little bit of everything. Am I right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I'll like listen to like pop from like today as well. Like I'd listen to the radio and listen to the songs that they have on there. Like I'd listen, I'd listen to pretty much anything to be honest. The only thing the only thing I have listened to and I don't like I used to go to like my friend's concerts because he would like perform. Is like
Oh yeah.
screamo, like heavy metal stuff.
Yeah,
no.
garbage.
Like,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't. That's like the only thing I wouldn't listen to, like, ever.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the best metaphor is like, Danny, you and I just love burgers, and that's our favorite food, and we just love every single type of burger. We just want to know new ways of cooking burgers, and Matt has more of like a, he loves burgers, but he also has an appreciation of all these other cuisines. Which,
Yeah.
when I think of it like that,
Yeah,
that
you
is
make us
probably
sound really bad.
yeah. When I think of it like that, it sounds really bad, but I'm very happy with my burger hip hop taste.
Yeah, same.
And I'll listen to other stuff and I'll appreciate it. And, part of it is, understanding the history of where hip hop songs come from, like, understanding where soul samples come from. But at the same time, my favorite type of music is hip hop. That's what it is. It's just my favorite type. And like, people will show me club bangers and I can get down to a club banger, but there's only a certain amount of time that I can listen to it. And then I'm ready to go back to hip hop. Like, I have a short attention span when it comes to anything else. Whereas if you play hip hop for me all day, you got me. I'll be listening to it all day.
It's a good point.
Well, before we go into how we became friends, I might just take a wee break, if that's okay.
Take a little whiz.
Yeah.
Okay,
How
I'll
dare
do
you.
it too.
I'll do it
All right.
free. Can you remember, just picture this, all right, everyone? So, we'd just gone round to Danny's place and, we'd gone out for a lovely fish and chip dinner. We probably have eaten it at his place, so we've taken away from the fish and chip shop. Lovely dinner, Now we've just settled down into the couch to watch a movie that, Aaron and I probably have had no say in whatsoever. Danny's been watching this, and
No, it's not that we've had no say. So we've been given a choice of 3 movies, which, to be honest, I don't mind now. Back then, Danny it was all movies you'd seen, Danny, and wanted us to watch.
Yeah, and that's the way it's always been. That is literally the way it has always ever been.
Yeah, it's like, so we can watch a movie as long as it's A, B, or C. So you get to pick, otherwise get out. And like, can you just imagine? That's not even the funny part. Can you just imagine that? So we're all settled, ready to watch this movie that we've selected, and then Aaron or I decide that we need to do number 2s. But then we realise whose house we're at.
Yeah.
And the judgment that we're going to face if we go take a steaming shit.
Yeah, it's not judgment, it's bullying.
Yeah.
It's just because the thing is, you would yell, and you still do, if I ever go to the bathroom at your parents' house, Danny.
Yeah.
You would go, Lena, Aaron's going to take a shit in the toilet. You would announce it to everybody, no matter what I would be doing.
Yeah, I wanted to teach you a lesson. I wanted you to make you feel guilty. Like, this is what happens if you take a shit in my toilet. Everyone's going to know about it.
Yeah.
But what makes it worse, Aaron, is it's a natural human, bodily function. It's like he's denying that right in his toilet.
We're friends, but to a certain extent.
Yeah.
We have boundaries. We have boundaries.
So then it gets to the point where, all right, I'm going to Danny's place for a movie. I better take a shit before I go.
That is good.
Otherwise, you'll have to do it in the street.
Yeah. But then it'd get to the point where you'd been friends for so long, you'd be like, "Nah, I'm going to save it up," and then just do it at Danny's.
Yeah, that's like after the 3 or 4 year mark. That's when you're like, all right, I'm going in.
And look at that, I might even forget to flush.
Oh, that's nasty.
No, that's crossing the line. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy.
I'm only joking. I never did that, but it'd be so funny to see Danny's face.
And for him to scream to his mum and dad.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Come have a look at
what
this."
he did.
I love that it's like, you can go take a piss, that's fine, like, no problems. But then as soon as you want to do number 2s, it's like, oh my god, you're the worst human ever. Oh, it's so funny. So funny. I mean, we digress, but very funny story.
Yeah. That's just part of our friendship. But speaking of friendship, I think, maybe Danny, you and I should start because Matt, you became friends with Danny after Danny and I were already friends. So Danny,
How
you and I have been
bloody dare
friends
you?
for
Yeah, what a loser.
How bloody dare you
well,
both?
you completed the trio.
The threesome.
So yeah.
The
Well,
menage a trois.
Hey.
we had a third. We did have a third at one time. He was barely a third, but do you remember Victor? Danny?
Yeah,
That was
yeah. Well,
so
to be honest, he was before you. He was my,
yeah.
friend before you. Like, before there was Aaron, it was Victor.
Oh, Big Vic. Let's
Yeah.
get him on. Let's get him on the show next week. See what
I
he has
mean,
to
Danny,
say.
would you even know where to find him?
Nah, I had no idea. I wouldn't know his surname. He was just, all I remember is he used to be like this little tank. He was just like this built. He was like, what, 10 years old, but he just like had six
Yeah.
pack and everything. Like, he was built. Yeah. And I know
so
that because
I think
he
was Polish. He was a Polish kid, I think.
Yeah, it was Polish. It's just close enough to Russian that it was like, that was something to
Yeah.
bond over.
Pierogi.
That's right.
But yeah, so Danny, you and I became friends because we were swimming at the same swim school or the same squad, and that's how we literally became friends. And I don't know how because you and I have quite a bit, like we've got 4 or 5 years age difference, 4 years, I think,
Yeah.
just under. And at that age, when you're like 16 and 12, that's a big difference.
Yeah, massive.
So
Can you imagine a year 12 hanging out with a year 8? That's essentially what's happened there.
Yeah, it's really weird when you say it like that. It's really weird.
You're a loser, Danny, and you're really cool, Aaron.
I guess it's because. Well, why was it? It was probably because, Aaron, you were just pretty good at swimming. I don't know.
Yeah, I was in squads, and Danny and I in the same squad for a while. But Danny, you never raced, so you were just like doing it for fitness.
Yeah.
Whereas I liked racing, and I at that time had the dream of becoming an Olympian. And I remember Danny laughing at me because
and look who's laughing now.
Yeah. But I mean, when you're 16 and you hear a 12-year-old turning around go, yeah, I'll be in the Olympics. That's my goal. That's what I want.
Yeah.
You kind of have enough perspective to know how much of a pipeline dream that is. Whereas kids really don't have that ability of introspection and understanding of reality.
Wait, so do you think that wasn't actually you were 12, I was 16, and we were mates?
I think so. Like
around
that time.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works. But Aaron, you were always like really mature for your age in a way, or at least you like physically anyway.
Yeah,
you were always really big. Like me and you have always been the same size at every age. At every age, when I was 12, when I was 16, you were 12. We were the same, size.
Yeah, but so it's around that time.
This is Danny's way of justifying his friendship with the kid 4 years younger than him.
I didn't. To be honest, I never thought about age. I never ever thought about age. It never.
Yeah.
Because we weren't meeting at school. Like we weren't hanging out at lunch times going, "Oh, I'm going to go hang out with the year 7s when I'm in year 10." Like that wasn't. We were at the pool. We were equals at the pool. We were in the exact same squad at a pretty much similar skill level.
Yeah. And I was always bigger as a kid. Like I started shaving when I was in year 7. That's the level that I was at. Like I got into high school and I had to start shaving. Like I had, Danny was right. Like I was always quite big. Like I stopped growing, but I had already like reached my huge growth when I was in high school. And I remember like I had the ability to grow a beard when I was like year 8, year 9. Like I had a goatee in year 9. I was just had that ability. So yeah, we looked similar in similar age, but at the same time, like, when you go to a swim squad, like you just become friends with the people that are there. And I guess our humor has always been quite similar.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's quite dry and it's quite direct, and neither of one of us takes things particularly personally.
No.
So it's always kind of just worked on that level. But yeah, you're right. We didn't hang out. Like we weren't like going after swim like squad and like going for walks and going to the movies together.
It was
Like
strictly the relationship was strictly at the pool only, and mainly in the showers. Like when we were having showers together. Yeah, when we're having showers together is when we would like talk and chat about general shit. But I do.
And like, didn't you like used to
go
rub body lotion on each other as well?
Yeah, that was part of it. I forced him to do that at
was
the age of 12.
If you can't tell, Danny's very much joking and Matt is imagining it's his dream.
But I do remember specifically back then, at that age difference, maybe it was, 17, 13, 18, 14 or whatever, that I was like, we were pretty good friends, but I did consciously think I can never really hang out with him outside of this. Like if we ever wanted to go to the movies, we couldn't do it. Like at that age, when I was year 12 or whatever, I was like, we just can't do it. I can't do that.
And then I came along, boys.
Nah. You are way later. You are so much later than this.
Hey, I brought this bloody ship together, mate.
No, you were you were around. You were definitely around because you were at that pool that we were.
Yeah.
Like me and Aaron were just in a different squad than you. Like we would see you around.
That's a nice way of saying I was in the shit squad.
You were though, weren't you? Because me and Aaron were like in the maybe not at that specific time, like that early time. Like we were just in a general squad, and you were in a shitter general squad. You were in a lower kind of squad.
I'll just justify that it was a choice. I'm going to say it wasn't decided for me. I chose to be in that squad below your squad because at the time my coach, I had a bit of a crush on her, and
Jody. Was it Jody?
Jody, yeah, and we had Aaron. But do you remember, Danny? He used to hit on Jody. He used to hit on Jody all the time. They would coach at the same time, but he would give us a set to do, and then he'd go float with Jody.
Yeah.
And Matt obviously was in Jody's squad, so we probably were swimming at the same time, but we never interacted because we were in different squads.
Yeah. So he was always there. That's the weird thing. Matt was always there,
lurking in the background.
We never acknowledged him ever. For we probably knew him for 5 years before we ever even talked to him.
Yeah. I remember thinking that because Aaron was obviously my competitor out of you two, because it's Aaron was the fastest swimmer, so I always remember being
he was not the fastest swimmer. How dare you? I was the fast one.
No,
it doesn't really matter who was the fast one.
No, come on, let's establish it now. I was the fast one. Come on.
I mean, Danny, if we're gonna really get into it, I made national squad.
But who? Fine. Who had the faster 50 free time? Come on.
All time? What was your PB? I don't even remember.
26 point something. Can't remember.
Yeah, keep talking shit.
It was, I can guarantee.
26 for 50 freestyle.
Point something, I don't know.
I think you mean 36.
Nah. If it wasn't 26, it was definitely 27.
No, I'm pretty sure you mean 36.
No, you're a fool. You're an absolute fool.
All right, what was your time, big boy?
My freestyle was 29.9. That was my best.
I 100% beat that every day of the week, man.
Yeah, what was your best 200 breaststroke, Danny?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You have the breaststroke. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah. But when Matt says, Aaron was the fast one, how dare he?
Yeah, but Danny, you were good at short distances. Let's be honest.
That's exactly right.
I had the long distance. I just could keep swimming.
Yeah, that's what I would 100% agree. Maybe you were, Matt, were you a breaststroker?
I was a breaststroker, so I think that's where the competition, I always wanted to compete against Aaron.
Yeah, because I was not a breaststroker.
The thing is, I wasn't even aware of this want to compete with me. I just wasn't.
He didn't even know you existed. Matt, Aaron was your rival, and Aaron didn't even know you existed.
Thanks for that. Cheers, guys.
No, but the problem is, it's just because we didn't interact. We just never spoke. When you go into a squad and you're in the same squad all the time, you speak to the people that are in there. So it's not even like I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
It's just like I just had no reason to really know. We were doing different sets. We were doing different things. I didn't know how fast anyone else was. I just knew that, yeah, I just had to
Yeah.
swim. Like I
Yeah,
didn't
but
have the foresight to go, oh, this guy's watching me all the time. He wants to compete. I didn't know. I just wasn't aware.
yeah, but let's fast forward a little bit to, so we were in the squads, you know, we were adjacent to each other. Me and Aaron were friends, had a weird relationship. Matt was over to the side, you know,
Watching us.
perving on his teacher and perving on us. And then at some point, who's the first person that actually starts working at the pool?
I started working there. No, I think Matt
I think Matt was
worked
first.
first.
No,
Matt was first, yeah.
Yeah,
Matt.
definitely. It definitely would have been me because I've worked there. I'd worked there for the longest.
Well, you're a
But
hero.
you're saying no. But you're saying first. Oh, I actually don't know. It was. See, Danny, you started a year after I did.
Oh, really? I thought
I
you were
know
there
that.
way longer than me.
Yeah, I thought you were way longer
Because
I
Aaron
started.
was there before me too. I was the last one to actually start working there.
My memory is pretty. I think you were pretty much around a year exactly after me, Danny.
Yeah,
I
you're
remember
probably right.
I remember you hopping into my classes and me essentially training you.
Yeah.
Well, how long were you there? Do you remember how old you were when you started teaching?
So I started in January 2010, so I would have been 17.
Wait,
Okay.
I started in 2010 as well, at the end of the year.
Yeah, so a year later, yeah.
There you go.
And I started when I think I just started when I was about 16, just turned 16. So probably was the start of 2010 as well. So maybe around a similar time. But the difference was that, do you remember, Danny, that the boss came up to us and said to me, you, Andy, and Ross, and asked us if we wanted jobs because he saw us training in the squad. And so he offered us jobs, and I think I was the only one who went and did my old swim at the time.
Yeah.
Like I was the only one who went off and did it. And then because they saw me, and I think Claire, who is still our friend to this day, saw that I was suited to more older kids. I coming from the squad background and coming from, being really competitive in terms of who I am, she saw that putting me with 3-year-olds is probably not going to be good for me or the 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
So she put me into the higher levels quite quickly. So, and Matt, you were teaching the lower levels. Again, you and I just didn't really have that much reason to talk. We were in teaching opposite levels.
Yeah, literally at the opposite ends of the pool.
Yeah, and I was aware of you. At that point, I had become aware of you. I saw you, but we just didn't speak. And I think we had different shifts and all that kind of stuff. So, and then Danny, you obviously came and were learning off Matt. So you were the first to properly speak to him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was I don't remember actually ever training with you. I'm sure I did, but it must have been one half-an-hour class, surely. I was around with everyone. I was, as you become a trainee at a pool, you literally go to every class and do half an hour with everyone, and then after 10 hours, you're on your own. So, but the thing was that when I did my 10 hours or whatever, and I got my own class, I was I was teaching the young ones. So Matt taught the young ones, and so did I. So we were nearer each other than we were to you, Aaron. And then I just really, maybe Matt, you can fill in some blanks because I just don't know how we got close. I'm pretty sure it would have been from your end because I'm the type of person who, if you don't talk to me, there's no way in hell I'm going to talk to you.
I think it probably would have been to do with one or more of three things. It would have had to do with food, movies, or hip hop. It would have been one of those three because they're the cornerstones of our friendship to this day. All of us. So I think that it had to be. My memory's a bit foggy, but it would have been one of those three or more. One or more of those three things. Yeah. I probably would have said something like, "Let's go get some pizza and then watch a movie and listen to some music." and you would have been like,
it probably
okay.
would have been, yeah, that sounds right, because it probably would have been something like, because we finished work around the same time. We probably had a couple of showers together, you know what I mean? And we'd get to chatting.
Like, how dare that guy shower with
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm usually the one,
Yeah.
you know, putting soap on his
Yeah. And then, well, the thing was that we had the same journey home. Like, walking home, we both walked home after work, and we took the same road home.
old
So,
Latosca.
yeah. And then at the end of that road, which is we walked down that road for like 20 minutes, you know, in the same direction. So we must have just synced up at some point. And then your favorite pizza joint was at the end of that road, at the end of that 20-minute walk. And one day you must have said, "Oi, come eat a pizza." And we shared a cute little slice, and that became, maybe a regular thing. And then maybe
Best buds ever since.
yeah.
Well, actually, I think I remember like something along the lines of like us doing that maybe once or twice, and then I think it was you, Danny, who was being like, "Oh, we should get like Aaron, like, you know, because like you were obviously friends with Aaron, you know, before you were friends with me, and then you were like, oh, we should like make this a cute little trio."
That definitely was not my intent. My intent was never like, "Oh, I'm going to have this master plan to merge my two friends together to become
definitely
group."
It was also not the way you would have said it. You wouldn't have said, let's make us a trio.
Yeah.
It's just not language. Like, Matt, you've obviously said it in a nice way, but Danny would have been like, I know this guy as well who's also into movies and hip hop. You probably would have seen him at the pool.
I'm gonna say how Danny would have said it. Probably would have been thinking to himself, "Oh God, now I've got two friends. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of effort. I wonder if I can make them both be friends, so that when I see them, I only have to see them once."
Yes. That is so much more likely. That is way.
Yeah.
I love that.
But before Matt, you and I actually became friends, there's a little bit of other like backstory to us. So you and I have actually dated the same girl.
Oh no, here we go.
He's silent. He's nervous.
He's silent. This is dangerous territory. This was not covered in the notes prior to the podcast, Aaron. You're springing on this bombshell. How dare you?
Look, all I'm going to say is I will confirm. Yes.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, I can also confirm.
I do not recall.
Yeah. If it pleases the jury, I do not recall. But I remember because you dated her first, and then for whatever reason you broke up. But then apparently, and this is just from my memory of 10 years ago, apparently she was considering getting back together with you, and then
after being with you.
No, before dating me, it was like a choice of go back with Matt or date me. And she chose, and she dated me, but let's not be too hasty because our relationship only lasted 3 months. So I'm not sure she made the right choice, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that was like backstory. So I'm now hearing more of Matt. I'm like the journey to actually meeting you, Matt, was not as traumatic as the journey about hearing you in terms of seeing you. Oh, now I've got this rival, and now we're competing over the same girl, and now it turns out, the funny thing is we never actually spoke about it.
Didn't you?
No,
it was something that was unsaid.
I feel like in just passing, we might have in the past 7 years or so.
I literally, until you brought it up today, I had completely forgot that actually happened, that you guys dated the same person briefly.
Are you trying to be edgy?
It's weird. No. I'm joking, but I don't remember you both. Like, I remember, Matt, that you did. I forget that Aaron did. Immediately after.
Yeah, but that's how short it was. It was such a short relationship that it was so insignificant that it literally was a blip. It didn't really matter that much. And, it clearly didn't matter to Matt that much.
I'm sure. Yeah. What, the fact that you dated her didn't matter that much?
No.
Well, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It brought us together. I was like, right, we have the same taste. Let's go.
Yeah.
I could see that, Aaron, was a good guy. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the rest is history. But then I think after that was when we started, like, all three of us, like, hanging out. And I think you would have had to. Food was definitely, like I said before, food was the big thing because, like, we all loved eating and we all loved, like, nice foods.
I like that you say loved, as if we've stopped loving eating.
True. We definitely we still love eating, but, like, I think, like, our first, like, proper dinner was at True South when we went, like, I don't know, 7 years ago, and, like, had that quarter suckling pig, and, like, that was, like, for me, that was the moment that I, like, remember as, like, our first meal together, and, like, our first, like, it probably wasn't our very first, like, hangout sesh together, but I'm just going to call that for convenience as it, because, like, I don't remember anything prior.
Well, you
to
literally, it's corny, but we have, like, an anniversary of friendship, which is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Matt, you started, didn't you? Like, the anniversary of us at True South ordering a suckling pig is the anniversary that we celebrate of our friendship.
Of our friendship, yeah. And so we celebrate it every 5 years. So that's the thing. So we've been there twice now. So we're looking, our next one is, looking
coming
at 10
up,
years.
Actually. Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, I'd get less for robbery, to be honest. But no, yeah. So that is definitely a cornerstone.
What should we do?
Well, Aaron just said we do it every 5 years. We literally, why haven't we been messaging each other, like, every year on that date, being like, happy anniversary?
Well, that's something you would do. You're the one who hasn't been doing it. If you did it,
doing that. Can you imagine? Like, can you both imagine just waking up on that day to a cute little message from me being like, happy anniversary?
To be honest, I'd also like just another day for me to have an excuse to go see you guys. Like, just like, sorry guys, I'm busy. I got to go see my best friends again that I see all the time. No. Yes, I know I saw them 3 times last week, but this is our anniversary. It's different.
And I'd also love for, like, one of you or me to, like, forget 1 year, and then, like, the other two
that would cause a massive rift.
Silent treatment.
Yeah. The other two being like, so anything particularly important about today?
Should we go over some of our massive rifts that we've had over the years? Should we go over some of the major incidents?
Well, before that, I was thinking maybe let's go into how our names, because obviously, we've been the Slim Fiddy Biggie committee long before this podcast. Yeah. So, we've had a Facebook group that we've had for years, probably the start of our friendship, like the quarter suckling pig that we've had, and we've just been posting about movies and hip hop, and they are the 2 subjects that we pretty much post in the group. So I think the interesting one is that, Danny, you're technically Slim, and Matt, you're technically Biggie, and I'm Fiddy. My one is pretty simple because 50 Cent is my first love, and therefore Fiddy. But the complex one is, Matt, you talk about Eminem every single week on every single podcast, and yet you're called Biggie.
Yeah. But we know why. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not because you're fat. You're actually not fat. The reason is, there is a reason. Who wants to explain it?
Go on, Danny. It's the it's sort of closest to your home, the event.
I don't know if I'll do it. I don't know. It's not a big, deal. It's not like you're Biggie because you love Biggie Smalls. It's not you're Biggie because you're fat. It's you're Biggie because we had another ritual that we had is, often on a movie night or whatever at my house, we would get fish and chips. And so we'd go to the fish and chip shop and we'd order, normal meals. I might get a flake and a, minimum chips. Aaron would get, whatever, a dim sim and chips as well. And then Matt approaches the counter. Biggie approaches the counter. and there's not enough room on the little ticket for the guy to write down his order. Like, he'd get one of everything: one dim sum, one potato cake, 3 flakes, 6 Chico rolls, maximum
Yeah.
chips, and he'd bring
You're
it home.
forgetting,
A burger.
you're
No,
forgetting
he got
the
a
burger with the lot.
And the burger,
the burger
with the lot. With the lot. And he'd bring that back to our place, and me and Aaron are sitting there just with our, little chips and enjoying our little, flake.
The equivalent is that we were having a kid's meal,
Yeah.
and Matt was having a grown-up meal.
Yeah. And
Obviously, it wasn't as big as Danny is saying, but it was bloody big.
It was massive.
It definitely had a flake, a burger with the lot, chips, dim sims, potato cake. Did I have a Chico roll? I'm not sure. Maybe.
I don't think I went the Chico roll, but
and like a can of Coke as well. That was like your classic.
Mm.
And yeah, we just remember opening the mountain of food that you had and just being in disbelief that you wanted that much, like you were that hungry.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, "I'm very hungry, guys."
Look, and it didn't go to waste either. It did not go to waste.
Yeah.
And from that day forward, I was known as Biggie Smalls because
Well, it was called the Biggie Challenge. It was called the Biggie Challenge. That and we never attempted it, but it was known as the Biggie Challenge.
Yeah.
And obviously you were the only one to attempt and conquer it, so hence you became Biggie.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. I feel like Aaron, like that's something that you've become interested in. Like, or maybe not. You were interested in, like, remember how you used to watch like Epic Mealtime and be like,
yeah,
like eat like if a restaurant had like a thing, or eat this and you don't have to pay for it. Like that's something that
Matt Stoney. Like, I love Matt Stoney videos. Like, just people who just eat an enormous pile of food. I just know that I know I can eat a lot of food. I know it's just incredibly unhealthy for you. Like, yeah.
But like, would you do like if like that could be like. I would do that with you both. I'd like go to a place and like, you have to eat this in like a certain amount of time, like just for fun.
It depends what it is, but
burger.
I would do it. I'd do it. I know, but Danny, you and I did this. Do you remember? Matt, you weren't there for it, but you've been in the UK. But there was a burger challenge. I think it was like it was called the Joker Burger. It was like a triple burger. It's like, I think it's like 1.1 kilos or something. We asked after. And the challenge was to finish the burger, and you could go into the prize to win $1,000. And Danny, you saw like I smashed it in 10 minutes, like it was nothing.
People were coming up to us like from the restaurant, being like, "Jesus Christ, we've never seen someone eat that fast." Like, I'm not even joking.
They were coming up and like asking for your autograph.
Yeah, because they were like, they started by saying, "Good luck, like let me know how, like we'll see how you go." Because and it really wasn't that bad.
Meanwhile, Aaron's like, "Is this it?" Like, or after that, like, "Can I have some more?"
But I said to Danny, I had a strategy. The first one was speed, and I knew that they were like, I knew this. I'd been watching enough videos to know that the thing that kills you is speed. I just like, I was interested enough to know, but I also have been known to be a big eater, so it's not really a problem. So yeah, that's probably the one in recent memory that I've actually done, but I try to stay away from them because I can get quite fat. So I don't particularly want to get. I don't want to get big pun fat. So it's just not something that I want to get to. But
you know what? All this talk of food, like, it's made me hungry. I want to go to Black Rock fish and chip shops now and get like a flake and a burger with a lot. Oh, I would go down a bloody treat right now.
That'll probably be your first meal back, Matt.
Oh,
when you come back, that'll be the first meal.
You know what? Like that, thinking about things like that. Not seeing you.
Get on a plane right now. Get on a plane.
Not even seeing you guys. Just getting a Chico roll from Oh God! And like they used to put like just the right amount of chicken salt on the Chico roll as well. God, that was good. Yeah.
And so, Danny, because I remember, these names only came about when we were speaking, like, we should make a Facebook group. What should we call it? And I think you came up with the name, Danny.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure it came about. I wasn't the one who came up with any of the individual names. Like, I'm pretty sure Aaron, you specifically came up with Biggie for Matt. For Matt,
Yeah.
and I think Matt, you came up with Fiddy for
So,
Aaron, and
yeah,
I think for Slim for me.
yeah, I think so as well.
Because the lucky thing for Matt back in the day, like when we started becoming friends in those early days, was that I was just as big of a fan of Eminem as Matt was. Like I would talk his ear off about Relapse every single chance I got. Like every walk home, every shower session, we would talk about every single song on it, which one's our favorite, why Eminem's the best. So back then, maybe, it was, appropriate to nickname me Slim. But like,
He's also one of your like favorite rappers, so like that's also makes it appropriate too.
yeah. But like
Yeah,
back then, he was literally my favorite rapper. Like it's changed now, but
Mm.
back then he was literally my favorite. So yeah, like you probably came up with the name of Slim for me, and then I, put it all together. I pretty sure I was like, what's something that'll roll off the tongue? Slim, Fiddy, and Biggie committee, and that was, and the inspiration for that was Simon Says from
mm,
Pharaoh Monch, where he goes, New York City gritty committee, pity the fool that. And just, I used to love that song. And so I was like, Slim, Fiddy, Biggie, committee. It rolled off the tongue. I put it
Yeah,
together like that, and we made it a group.
yeah,
that's actually like that's a good like point I think because like if one of us was to actually become a successful rapper, it would be Danny because like you seem to like be able to like how Aaron when like we rap a song like and we just our flows are always off, but like Danny seems
yeah.
to
I
have
was
this
literally going to say
natural
you took the words. You took the words out of my mouth. His flow is way better than ours.
yeah
The flow
yeah
that I steal from other rappers.
Yeah, but we listen to hip hop as well, and we can't. I can't match the flow. Do you
no
know the best I do? The
skill
best I do is I rhyme to annoy the people in my life.
Yeah.
That's all I do. I just rhyme nonsensical sentences. At
yeah
this point, like I'll just say something like, "How are you?" Oh, I just did a poo.
Oh,
Just
God.
just random shit
Yeah.
that makes no sense, but just try to speak in rhymes because it annoys people in my life. Like it's like the worst prank ever. But compare that with your ability to actually, quote a full track and verse. You and I are worlds apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like not just quote it. He like it flows well, so it's like I can see it makes sense that you came up with the symphony. Like you put it together that way because it's like, yeah, well, that's your skill. That's the thing that
Yeah.
you.
It probably comes from when I, early high school days, like I said at the start, when I would just sit at home and literally stare at a computer screen and stare at lyrics and try to nail it so the next day I could go to school and impress all the mates. So,
Yeah,
practice pays off, I guess.
yeah.
And you had the practice.
Yeah.
You're like like when in Straight Outta Compton the movie when they first get Easy E in the booth and like he like spits the shit that Dre wants him to spit. Like that's literally how I feel. And like I don't know, I won't speak for you as well, Aaron, but like when like I try and like rap a lyrics and like Danny's there and like Danny's like Dre like laughing at me.
Yeah. Well, the thing
Uh,
is, I've seen you, Danny, spit different verses in different flows. Like
mm,
I've seen you, like Mob Deep's
Shook ones.
shook ones. I've heard you spit them to different beats. I remember we have an annual ski trip with some of our other friends, and I remember we were getting kebabs or whatever, and there was a beat in the kebab shop, and I just remember us standing in line, and you just going for it, and the songs would change, and you would change your flow. So I remember going, geez, that's actually really impressive.
I remember that too. And I like that you remember that. That's cute.
fat beats at the kebab shop.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, I'll go over any beat. I'll go a cappella. I don't care.
Yeah, well, he literally will go a cappella.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
But I think, we've talked about our friendship, but, it's taken from how many years? Like 8 years since we became properly friends, like the three of us, to starting a podcast. So the journey is actually, it's taken a while. Like, I don't think, first of all, podcasting wasn't big before.
Oh,
And
it kind of
then,
was. We are pretty
well,
late to the
to us,
party. We are
yeah.
pretty late to the party, I gotta say.
Well, we got here eventually.
Yeah.
We did have a little spell of reviewing different foods for a while. But,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
didn't really take off, you know.
And before we even started this podcast, we did on our Slim Fiddy and Biggie Committee Facebook page, we would do written reviews. We did
Yeah.
this podcast before we even did this podcast.
Yeah.
We would just
And we would
write-
go for drives. Like, we've gone for drives and just literally review a full album track by track.
Yeah.
Like, we've done that. Like, this is not so much a change for us, but more a different format for us to review
Platform,
the things that we were already reviewing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it was it's definitely a positive, like, because then it opens us up and the fun that we have to like the world to like enjoy as well, because it's if you enjoy doing something, which we do, and you can share that with other people and they can get some sort of enjoyment out of it, then it's a win-win really. And it's also just a way of like capturing moments of time in our friendship, so while obviously talking about hip-hop.
And the best part is, even if no one listened to our podcast, and if no one ever listened to this, it would still be fun, purely because we just do it together, and we would be doing this regardless.
Yeah, exactly. Feel like we have given like listeners a pretty like broad like view of like our friendship. Are there any other like points that you think would be important for them to know? I guess getting back.
Danny did want to touch on a few beefs that we've had, because we've had, we've talked about the ups, but what about the downs? What are the struggles that, I think, to be honest, the beefs are more between Matt and Danny. I've usually managed to stay away from any beef. So
you're more of a pork man, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Chicken, but but yeah, I think Danny, do you want to go into some beefs? I mean, you've had some funny beef.
I was the only one that came to mind was the Code Red one. That was the one that I thought would have been funny to say.
Yeah,
but that's more
that
on
is
Matt's.
funny.
The thing is, it's all on Matt's end. Like, I almost have nothing to do with that beef, and it was a genuine beef that I had no idea was actually happening.
It was
so just
Matt,
do you want to give us the backstory of Code Red and what happened and how you guys made up, or how you were okay?
It's a bit touchy, but if I need a moment to compose myself, just excuse me, listeners, tug on the heartstrings a bit.
It's a very traumatic experience that you have to relive now.
Yeah. Take a deep breath. So Code Red was a banging club in Melbourne City under Flinders Street Station a few years back. I'm not sure if it's still popping off.
Nah, I think it's gone. It used to be next to I think Doherty's. The gym is there now.
Yeah. I never went there, but I did go to Code Red and used to have a great time there. And I thought, recently become friends with, these two new cats, you guys. So I thought, I'd share that experience that I had at Code Red, that positive experience with you. And, so I decided to take you along one night. But was that a mistake? Aaron seemed to enjoy himself. I think he even might have gotten lucky that night, with a little smoochy woochy with one of the clientele, one of the
one of the clientele.
Matt, you make it sound like I'm literally going, and paying for it. It was a nightclub, and I remember you've definitely. I feel like you've embellished my ability with the women.
No, not at all. Because the clientele, like someone who partakes in the club, like a person who went there. So it's like a girl who, who was dancing in the club. You seemed to have a little smooch with her, if I remember. And then, so I was happy because I was like, oh, well, Aaron's having a good time. Aaron's found love. And then I look over my shoulder, and there's bloody Danny sitting in the corner on one of the sofas, just depressed. And I was just like, why is he not having fun? Like, so, me being the caring person that I am, I try to coax him over to get to the dance floor and have a little, jig. But, he was not having a bar of it. And then one hip hop song came on and he got up for a bit. So I was like, oh, yes, this is it. And as soon as the song was over, I think Miley Cyrus, Party in the USA came on or something like that. And he was just like, no, off to the couch. And then I thought, well,
And what was the aftermath of that?
And then, I was just a bit disappointed that, I felt like you hadn't given it more of a chance. So I decided that I was going to cease contact for 2 weeks.
He decided to end the friendship because I didn't enjoy the nightclub that he enjoyed.
Yeah. No, because at that time, Matt, you were a big fan of clubbing at that time. Like, you had other friends that you enjoyed clubbing, and instead of, getting us to go, like, I like clubbing as well, but I feel like in terms of who won that battle, I feel like you're about to, reveal which way the friendship went.
Well, after in those 2 weeks, I caught up with Aaron probably almost every day, and like we, our friendship got so much stronger. I think we went on a holiday, didn't we, Aaron, in that time? Like we went.
No, don't lie.
And we just basically talked about how shit Danny is, and then
none of that happened.
Happened. I wasn't aware of this beef either until Danny told me later about that you were upset at him.
I didn't know. That can't be right either because I wasn't even aware of the beef.
No, yeah. So I didn't end up going on a holiday with Aaron in those 2 weeks. We didn't hang out any more than we usually
run off together and ditch Danny.
Yeah.
I just wanted to try and
milk it. Yeah.
But I remember after those 2 weeks, I eventually cracked. I eventually caved, and I decided that I would, get back into it with Danny. Yeah. And I told him that I hadn't spoken to him for 2 weeks because of, what I just explained. And he was like, "What? I didn't even realize that you hadn't been speaking to me." Then I got even more angry because I was like, "Well."
Like, that is the funniest part. The funniest part is that you decided, oh, Danny has pissed me off so much, I'm not going to be friends with him for the next 2 weeks. And I didn't notice. Like, you didn't talk to me and I didn't notice. And then you started talking to me again. And I was like, all right, everything's normal.
Yeah.
And I don't think you told me, you must have told me about this like a year later.
Yeah.
You must have told me, like, it wasn't like, oi, I'm going to talk to you now. And I'm like, oh, you weren't talking to me? It was a year later you said, oi, remember when I wasn't talking to you? And I was like, no.
So, that was the beef that we had, the infamous beef.
Yeah. The long 2-week beef.
Yeah.
But I will say, the thing is, like, when we look at our personalities, Danny, you're very much an introvert.
Yep.
And Matt, you seem to be able to talk to anyone. Like, I've always marveled, your gift is the gift of the gab and the innate ability to literally small talk with anyone. Like, absolutely anyone. It's unbelievable. You are like, it's your gift. Like, you can literally talk to anyone about any topic, even if you don't care about it. It's amazing. And I've witnessed you do it. And I just stand there going, I have no idea how you're speaking to that random person for 40 minutes. Like, I've never, like, I know I can talk, but I feel like your ability to talk to people is like next level.
Making me out like some god. I love it. Keep going.
Yeah. He's making it out like he has like some kind of superpower, the ability to speak to other humans.
No, it's the ability to small talk with anyone.
Yeah,
Like,
which is like my
it's
worst fear. Like
yeah.
small talk is like my kryptonite. I cannot stand it. How's the weather? Oh God, kill me.
Yeah.
No,
It's
but
like,
you also don't have the ability to like talk about shit that you don't care about, Danny.
Yeah, no.
Matt, he can. I've listened to some conversations where I know you don't care. Like,
yeah.
and you just seem to be like still engaging and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not aware, but like, tell me more. Is this like, and you just, I don't know. It's always been amazing to me. Like, Danny, your hip hop, your ability to flow is impressive, but Matt, your ability to talk to people is impressive. Like,
his verbal diarrhea is impressive.
it's not even verbal diarrhea. It's like very chosen, a very like,
Yeah, no.
I don't know. It's impressive.
Yeah, I agree. It's
See,
a
it's
gift
good
that I wish I had.
No, but it's good. That's why I'm there. That's why I'm because when you're around those people, I'll do the talking, so you don't have to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the benefits of being friends with you.
When someone,
you're Danny Shield.
Yeah, when someone new approaches at a party, you just sort of push me forward and go, Matt, you're up.
That is so true.
But yeah, no, it's definitely a talent, definitely a gift and a curse. But yeah, no, that's the thing you were sort of starting to touch on it, Aaron. It's like, Danny's introverted. I'm sort of, can be extroverted, but I enjoy being introverted. Aaron and I are closer in terms of like introvert, extrovert, and like whereas Danny's more like.
I'm the only introvert here. You both, like, I'm pretty sure that Aaron, you are even more extroverted than Matt is. Even though Matt has the gift of the gab, he has his introvert moments, whereas you are just like you eat up any kind of social interaction. You just live off that shit.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I reckon I've become more. I've like accepted that side of myself more as I've gotten older. I think when I was younger, I was more introverted. Like I was just like trying to be this like stoic, very like controlled person. This man, this image that like of what I thought a man should be. But then, the older I get, the more I just let that shit go, and the more I'm like I realize that I actually am extroverted. Like when I meet real introverts, and like Danny, you and I have been friends for so long that you're not really an introvert around me.
No, I'm not an
So
introvert. I appear to be the most extroverted person around people that I know, and as soon as there's any person around me that I am not familiar with, I climb into my shell and I'm dead to the world.
So I guess I've never really compared my extroversion with your introversion purely because anytime we interact, you are as extroverted as you'll be. You're like very outgoing. You talk, you joke, you're funny. Like you do all those things. So I think meeting other introverts has been like, oh, okay, now I see. Now I see that like I do love to talk to people. I do love people's company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that has like brought the friendship to where it is, because it's like we all I definitely have common interests in hip hop and movies and food and things, but we also have differences. So it's like, and those differences definitely complement each other. But to think about it, like what 7 8 years, I don't know, I can't remember the exact date, but like that's like quite rare, I imagine. Like, and that beef wasn't even really a proper beef. Like we don't.
No, it's just
Yeah.
it's just drama that we've drummed up just to sound like our friendship isn't perfect, but it pretty much is.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. We're the three best friends, Anyone could have,
no.
yeah, so it's like I feel like that's pretty rare. So it's like, that's one of the reasons I think that that makes a friendship last, when you share commonalities and you also complement each other's differences, and you don't don't beef. Like, but when we do beef,
Yeah.
like when you do beef, like,
It's jokey bullshit beef. It's not real beef. It's not like actual fights. It's like, jokey bullshit.
yeah. And I think it also stems from the fact that, like,
And if anything, this has been good for us, especially during, Matt, because you've been in London for how long now? Like 18 months or something? Like, it's
yeah,
been a long time since we've seen you in person. And I remember that we went out to dinner to say goodbye and stuff. And, I think doing this has, if anything, kind of rekindled like our friendship. It never disappeared, but it kind of has reminded, me as well that like, how good of friends we really are because we just haven't seen each other. And so now we speak regularly and, talk shit regularly. So it kind of, gives us an ability to see each other. And, for me and Danny, like we haven't seen each other in like around 6 months. Like we've seen each other like twice in this 6 month period face to face. So yeah, I think this has been good in that sense. Like, it's kind of made the distance not seem as far.
yeah, like definitely. I think it couldn't have come at a better time. Like, I feel like there was a time when before the podcast when I was over in London that I didn't we didn't talk for like every week or so, like we'd message on and off, but like this is like provided something more consistent as a means of communication. And in a way, like when I do come back home to Melbourne, like it almost feel like, we have been talking the whole time, like we haven't really missed like out on, other than obviously face to face, we haven't missed out on like much really.
Yeah.
A thought came to my mind, this little joke. I was almost like, wonder why Danny hasn't said it. He's like, Matt, are you in London? I'm like, are you?
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean? Where'd you go?
I didn't realize you were gone. What the hell?
Literally, I didn't like with the code red thing. I didn't realize you weren't talking to me. Didn't realize you'd gone. Oh, what a prick! What an absolute prick. But yeah. No, it's really good. And now, like, also, I'll like associate like a part of London, a part of my experience in London was starting like being a part of a podcast with you guys. So it's like that's also cool too.
Yeah. Well, if we had to finish it, we'd just say we're the three best friends. And well, no, in all seriousness, I think, unless you guys have anything else to add, I think I might wrap it up.
I have absolutely nothing left to say to you, freaks.
Cheers. Yeah, that's a lovely way to finish. I think I need to get it back to the hip hop. Like I would just say that, for like any listeners out there who have had like a similar experience with finding friends, with a love of hip hop or whatever it might be. It doesn't necessarily have to be hip hop. Like hold on to that and hold on to those people because it's like that, similarity that you share can have such a lasting impact on your friendship because, especially with niche interests, for us it obviously was hip hop, but it could be, something arts and crafty. It could be, sport related. Like it's definitely something that I think is crucial to a friendship to find those similarities. And sometimes you might not even know until, that you have something in common until you actually communicate with, someone else. So that's why, sometimes, as introverted as you might be, like Danny is, it might be, beneficial to have a chat, or even if you're not, really comfortable with that, like just listening to what other people are talking about and going, oh, like they are interested in something that I am in and interested in as well. So it's like, oh, maybe I should explore that more because it's like you never know where you're going to find a friend or friends that you will then end up, doing a podcast with 8 years later.
Yeah.
That is so cute.
And we literally have been through thick and thin together. Like, when it comes to, the friends in my life that I can count on, you two are the first to come to mind. So as much as we joke and we laugh, the benefit of our friendship is that when push comes to shove, is that we know that we'll be there for each other regardless of what happens. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, with that, I hope our listeners got something from it, even if just to listen to us talk shit and talk about, you know, our friendship and how we kind of got into hip hop and got into starting this podcast. So if you have any feedback for us, if you liked it, let us know. If you have any questions, let us know. And then we'll be back next week to do a proper album review. But this was just one of those ones where we got to just talk shit for a little bit and kind of reminisce about our friendship.
Love it.
Good job, boys.
Excellent work as always.
All right. See you later. Thanks for listening to the show. Please like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at @the_Slim Fiddy Biggie Committee. And stay tuned for our next podcast. Bye for now.